I just recently quit my job. I thought I was gonna stay in the corporate world and just keep growing and growing until I realized this one thing, and it's absolutely changed everything. Like, it's changed the trajectory of my life, and it's literally from a book I read recently, The Almanac of Naval Ravikant. In the book, he talks about this idea of leverage. And so when people trade their time for money, a job, they have absolutely no leverage because their time is limited, it's finite. When you want to be rich, a job will never work for you. And even in the book, he talked about, it was his quote. His quote was, "You're smart, so you'll never be rich because a boss will always offer you a job that's just good enough." And when I read that, I was like, damn, like, that shit fucking gave me chills. But he goes on to talk about this idea of leverage, and you need leverage in order for you to get rich. And for some reason, I've heard this quote before. It didn't click in my head what he was talking about until I read it in that book, and I was like, oh my god, this all makes sense. And so I feel like if other people knew this, they would also start thinking about stuff differently. And so again, if you're fine with the hourly job, you're fine with just clocking in 40 hours and just never having to, never having your freedom, never having to be able to be self-sufficient, structure your day the way you want it and stuff, then this video is not for you, right? This is for people who actually want freedom, who actually want to have the life that they want, become rich, become wealthy, and just not always be trading time for money and be like struggling, having like a shit retirement, all of that, right? You know the struggles. You think about it every day, like the idea of like having to get your vacation signed off pisses me off so much. Cause I'm like, why the fuck? If this is my life, I'm paying for the vacation. I'm going no matter what. What makes you think that I need to get signed off by you, like the boss or whatever? Nonetheless, you need leverage in order for you to get rich. And so there's 3 types of leverage. The first one is also the worst one. It's human capital, right? So this is what typically you'll see managers and CEOs do. If they trade their own time, they can only trade 8 hours and only get a certain amount of work done. But if they hire 10 people, now they can get technically 80 hours of work done by just paying each of these people. And so if you can, like, say a project manager for like a construction company, if he has 10 guys under him, he can get a lot more done with these 10 guys than he can get done by himself. And then the next one is financial capital, right? So this is what you typically see with banks or investment banks or institutional banks. They take money from a bunch of people and then they put it into a vehicle that gives them a bigger return. And so let's say I took $1,000 from 10 people, now I have $10,000. And so I take that 10,000, I invest it in something that gives you a 10% return. I made $1,000 profit. You can keep making more money, right? And so the last one, code or media. And so this is the most powerful form of leverage because you only have to create the code or media once and then you get to sell it forever, especially if you do it digitally, right? So think about like Microsoft Word, right? They created that code once and they've been selling it for years now, right? And that's why the company is like $1 billion company, right? Because the company just generates so much fucking money because they made the code once and they never had to. The upkeep of it is very minimal, and to duplicate it and sell it to more than one person, there's no extra production costs, there's no inventory costs, there's no shipping costs. It's just all digital. It all happens instantaneously, right? It's literally a glitch, right, in the Matrix. Because if you think about it, if you make that course, it takes you a month to make, right, and then you sell it for $50, all you're ever worried about doing is marketing and sales, right? So as long as you are publicly promoting the course or the book or whatever through social media, which is, again, to post on social media is free. YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, all of these platforms you're able to promote for free, right? You don't have to run ads for this. So it's like you have no marginal cost, you have no ad cost, you have nothing. And if you do run ads, it sells even faster and even crazier. Yeah, internet gurus, coaches, creators, they make so much money so fast. And this idea of like making $10,000 a month seems very easy because it really is. Like if you sell like $100 product, you only need to sell it to 100 people. 100 people. There's 7 billion people in the world. There's like 3 billion on the internet. All you need to do is sell to 100 people. If you make videos on any platform, you'll see you'll get hundreds of views anyway. So if you just made a bunch of videos every day and only got one person to buy, you would eventually get to that 10,000 pretty easily. But it's just having the product, understanding how to create content, understanding how to write copy, market, all that stuff, right? It's like as long as you learn these things, it's all doable because all these guys are doing it and they're all saying how easy and how simple it is. It's not easy, it's simple. So all you gotta do is just sit there and really observe and learn, right? It's like, when you think about it like this, you're like, oh, so low key, like when you think about making $10,000 a month when you have a job, you're like, oh, I can't do that. I would need to get a raise and I would have to work 80 hours. And it's like, you think about it all wrong because you just have a lack of information just like I did. And so I kept thinking, how are these guys getting rich? How are these guys getting rich? How are they doing it so quickly, right? Like For me to have made X amount of money, like the 10,000, it would take me months. It would take me years to make 100,000. It would take me years to finally hit 1,000,000, right? Of saving and just constantly struggling. And so, in theory, when you go on this pathway of jobs, you're setting yourself up for failure, right? Because there's no way you'll ever be able to trade enough time for the amount of money that you want, given that, let's say you want to make 100,000 a month or $1,000,000 a year. It's like, it will not happen in a job. There's like very little, like there's less than a 1% chance that you're able to land one of those like crazy jobs where they pay you more than $1,000,000, like something at some tech company, right? And so, and even when you do land those jobs, you'd be so old and you would still have to pay taxes and you would still have to work 60, 70, 80-hour weeks. And so it's like, how is that worth it, right? We are in an era where the internet is booming and thriving, and you literally, if you're watching this video, you have the opportunity to partake in this, right? Like, think about it this way. You spend 4 years in college, you spend months on end building your resume, building a LinkedIn, building all this stuff, everything so you can land a job, right? That's like 4 years of college, maybe 6 months of like applying and doing all this like extra bullshit. Just if you just took those 4.5 years and you applied it to learning digital economics, online business, content creation, do you really think you would struggle? 4.5 years of doing the same thing, you really think you would have struggled? And so it almost pisses you off that for me, it personally pisses me off that I had wasted all this time going to college, because if I had just spent that time, if I had just bought in a course, or if I had just found this sort of information earlier in life, I would have been already on the pathway and I would have been a lot farther while I was younger. And so I had less liabilities, less expenses, and I had more time. And so who knows how far I would have been if I had started when I was 18. But again, I wasn't exposed to this type of information. I didn't know about this information. Social programming had fucked me up and told me, you need to go to school, you need to get a job, and you need to retire at 65. I really didn't even know that there was another option, that that there was more out there for me, right? And so as I've been reading more and more books and I've been able to piece these things together, I'm now making this video. So if you're seeing this, know that you just got so much information that typically, like honestly, like 95% of the people who work jobs don't even know, because if they did know that, they would have eventually set themselves up for success rather than for failure if the goal was to become rich. And again, if some people are okay with just working 9 to 5, I don't know how. You're trapped, you're a rat, you're in the matrix, and it's like everything that you say, like I genuinely don't believe people who say they're like so happy with a 9 to 5. I understand not wanting to work a lot, but you're already working 40 hours at your job. If you had just worked 40 hours for your own business, it'd probably be enough. It's just in the beginning, you might have to work 60, 70-hour weeks, but eventually your business can work 10, 20-hour weeks. There's guys that are making $100,000 months who work less than 10 hours a week, right? And that's later on in their like career in online business, but you put in the 70, 80-hour weeks in the beginning, and eventually you can reduce it but drastically, right? And they have the ability to always make more money, right? Because they make their own money, right? They're not earning it, they're making it. And it's all from the comfort of their home. It's just most people are so attached to this idea of being employed, because that's what like it's social programmed into us. And like this idea that paycheck is, I need a paycheck, I need to get paid every week. It's like, no, you don't. Like money is really not the end all be all. So when people are this obsessed, it's like, damn, like they really got us like socially programmed to believe that we need a paycheck and we need a job and there's no other way. And it's like, in reality, a job is just a safe and secure way of making money, but it's not the most optimal and definitely not the most efficient, right? If you want to get rich, you want to get rich quick, you have an opportunity of a lifetime right in front of you, and there's no way you could be like, oh, I didn't know, I was too scared. It's like, I'm literally telling you right now, if you watch this video, you're probably already in this sort of mindset like, oh, I do not want to work a job, I want my freedom, I want to have my own structure in my life, I want to be self-sufficient. And so now you kind of understand why I quit my job and why you should quit your job and why I'm so adamant about making these types of videos. It's all documentation. I really hope 1 year from now I'm able to watch back these videos and be like, damn, you see, I was fucking right. Look at me now, look at me now making 100,000 a month type shit, right? And it's like, I don't know, I think it'd be super fire and super cool. It's like, you gotta do what you gotta do if you want to achieve your goals, and if you do it, stick to it, commit to it, you will win in the end.